Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the fantasypoints.com live stream here. Who's still got the music going?
Oh, that was me. I'm already.
Come on, Graham. I thought you were a professional here.
Yeah, I mean,
What's
Jesus.
going on here?
I already got a rookie
we got the same hat on.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to talk NFL draft props here. We're going to do another one of these on Monday, I believe, guys. Or
I think we were talking Wednesday next
Wednesday.
week.
We're going to talk next Wednesday. And that's going to give us all the information, where all the stuff that has changed, just kind of an evaluation of the prop market. It's good to be with you. Obviously, that's Graham Barfield and that's Tom Brolley. You can see that because that's their names. It has it right now. This is Butterscotch back here. And I just want to let you know she is going to be hooting and hollering in about 37 seconds when my old lady gets home and opens the garage door. So just so you're aware of that. Guys, it's good to be with you here. Graham, you've got to go to a very non-competitive basketball game tonight. So we're going to...
The true MVP, Joe, and Ben, for this. You guys are listening. The true MVP is going to show up tonight. Come on. Let's be honest here.
Definitely
it's not going to be a series.
You're a full-blown Nuggets fan now. You live out in Denver for like a year, and you become a full-blown Jokic fan there.
Real cute, Ben. I saw the mute. Real cute. No, I'm not a Nuggets fan, Tom. I just think Jokic is the best player in the NBA. I talk in facts and absolutes. I don't mess around with any bias or anything. I think Jokic is the best player in the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we saw the best player in the NBA last night.
For what it's worth, I bet the Warriors to win the Western Conference and the NBA Finals the night Devin Booker got hurt. So I'm feeling.
That's a smart move there.
They look pretty tough now. Of course, Booker. They said it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks. Who knows if the hamstring limits him beyond that? Because those things just linger. They can sap you of your explosiveness for the rest of the year. We'll see. I mean, it's going to be tough to get out of the Eastern Conference for sure, but. Riding high might be the wrong term because I feel like death today after last night. Oh my God, this is one of those hangovers. It's not going away until I have a beer tonight.
You see your boy might be back for the elimination game for the Brooklyn Nets there in Game 4.
Demo the Savage, yeah.
Oh,
I have not even thought about him. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Anyway, let's talk NFL draft because Graham has to go to the basketball game. Guys, Tom, you and Graham each have best bets up on the website, and you can check those out if you're a subscriber at fantasypoints.com. Great.
They're free.
They're free.
For anybody.
Yeah, it's free.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, man. We're giving this away for free. We're giving that away for free. What the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
So we're going to – all right, we're going to talk draft props. Now, I understand this is very I live in South Carolina, okay? I have to do all my betting offshore. But where there are props for the draft. Tom, you live in Pennsylvania. You can't bet draft props.
No, I got to send my money to Ben Canis.
Yeah, Colorado is the best state in the country for a lot of different reasons. But, yeah, we have the beautiful full market draft props. I've been betting draft props since the middle of March, man. So I'm ready to go.
Well, you can do just about anything in Colorado.
Yeah, you can bet on anything in Colorado. It's awesome.
I'm going to be using FanDuel. We're going to be using FanDuel Sportsbook for this. They're going to be similar some places. Obviously, if you shop around, you're going to get some advantageous things. First and foremost, just to kind of lead this off, since Tom, you and Graham have been checking draft props basically by the day, by the hour. What are some of the bigger kind of trends and shifts that you've seen thus far?
Well, I mean, Hutchinson was by far he was kind of not overwhelming, but he was sitting around minus 250 as the favorite a couple of weeks ago. And just in the last, 5 to 7 days here, there's been some Walker talk at the top. It's not completely dead that they could go, with one of the offensive linemen, but looking at those odds now, they're 16-1, Evan Neal and Ekwonu. So it looks like it's down to, at least the books, the way they're looking here. FanDuel has Hutchinson as minus 185, Walker plus 165. I'm still kind of leaning towards the Hutchinson side, but it's anybody's game right now. It's kind of a coin toss, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember, and this is lazy analysis in some ways. I mean, every year is tough, but I can't remember a year where like the top three was this wide open. I think, to Tom, not only your point about first overall pick kind of it was Aiden Hutchinson was like the heavy favorite. Now Trayvon Walker's got a ton of juice. Kayvon Thibodeau has come skyrocketing back to be in play for the Lions at number 2. Not only in play, like he's the betting favorite at plus 150. Yeah, he's plus 150 to go number 2. Aiden Hutchinson's plus 195, then Walker, then Willis. Willis is backed up to plus 900. You can get him at 10-1 in some spots. I bet Malik Willis at plus 500 in March to be number 2, and I don't know. I felt okay about it at the time. I think I'm staying away from it now. But
I thought so too at that time.
Thibodeau seemed like he was going to fall out of like the top 10, almost like. And now he's just come skyrocketing back. I'm not really sure.
That's my worst bet on my card right now. I have Thibodeau going over 5.5. It was a plus money bet at the time. You know, it seemed like all the momentum, at least in early April, was that, you know, he had a lot of, you know, not character issues. You know, there's just questions about his effort and, you know, why wasn't the production better the last year at Oregon? But, you know, it seems like, you know, there's just no slam dunks in this draft. I mean, at the end of the day, he's, you know, him and Stingley. We've seen Stingley rise up the board here in the last, you know, couple of weeks. These guys that are uber talented, there's no great options here in this class. So these guys that, you know, they do have a few red flags here, but at the end of the day, they're as talented as any guys in the draft. So they're getting pushed up right now.
This is going to sound stupid, but it's almost like one of those drafts where it's great to have like the middle to back end of the first round picks.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it almost feels like there's a good amount of like middle to back end first round talent in this draft, just not a lot of high end first round talent in the draft.
Yep. And I think to that point, Joe, I mean, at receiver, this is like the perfect year to need a receiver, and you're drafting between like 10 and 25. And there's a ton of teams in that little pocket. Because I think at the end of the day, there's like probably 20 players in this draft that teams are going to have like a true first round grade on. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, you get into that range of like 10 through 25, the meat of the middle, the meat to the middle of the first round. And a lot of these teams are probably just going to be like, screw it, I'll just take a receiver because he's a better player in general.
Right.
He can help me quicker than this guy who, you know, may or may not play very much in the, you know, first 8-10 weeks of the season.
Well, I am going to be talking to Scott Barrett tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to be talking to 2 different people tomorrow about wide receivers. I'm going to be talking to Greg Cosell about kind of day 2 and 3 wide receivers that he likes. And then I'm going to talk to Scott about his model. Those will both be tomorrow. So keep an eye out at fantasypoints.com. But you're right. And I mean, to me, and this is why the top 5 is very interesting to me, because if you're asking me, who are the prospects I'm least worried about in this class? Like, who do I think has the best shot of success? The top 2 answers for me are going to be Ike Ekwonu and Evan Neal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why
I think Aiden Hutchinson's in there too, Joe, but I'm with you.
Yeah, I don't think Hutchinson will be a bust, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know if he's going to become a 12 to 15 sack guy.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, I feel like he's pretty safe. But, man,
I put Sauce Gardner in that list too, in terms of, you know, not slam dunks, but, you know, guys that higher floors here. You know, some of these, you know, Walker and Thibodeau, I think, absolutely have a little bit more bust potential. I put Gardner into that group as well. I think that's kind of why he's kind of. He's not a lock to be 7 or 8. You know, I have a tough time seeing him get past the Giants at number 7.
I heard for the first time today that the Texans might not draft an edge or an offensive lineman and just take Gardner.
Which is possible. And by the way, now we're talking about guys who have these odds. I'm at FanDuel. Odds to be a top 5 pick, okay? Aiden Hutchinson, minus 4,000 near certainty. And there's, I mean, I guess Trayvon Walker at minus 700 is a near certainty too. But beyond that, you got minus 250 for Thibodeau, minus 160, which is actually, as you guys said, kind of high. Minus 160 for Ekwonu, then minus 135 for Neal, minus 115 for Gardner. I don't. What would be your favorite bet of that group?
I think the only guy I'd take the plunge on is Gardner at minus.
Yeah, just because it's near even.
Like, yeah. I mean, the Jets.
Jets and Giants.
The Jets and Giants are probably in play, yeah. And I guess
I'm looking at the number 3 overall pick now, and you're right, Graham. He's tied for second now. It's pretty even. Evan Neal, Ekwonu, and Gardner are all at plus 380 to be the 3rd overall pick for the Texans.
And those three of them just went up, by the way, like as we were talking.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah. Trayvon Walker is the favorite to be the number 3 overall pick, and I guess the thought is
if he falls.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, Aiden Hutchinson's plus 150 to be the number minus 185 to be the number 1 overall pick. He's plus 195 to be the number 2 overall pick, thinking if Walker, the markets basically have Hutchinson and Walker. Like, those are the 2 guys. But I wonder if it might be kind of like a little interesting to throw a couple of bucks on both those offensive tackles at 16 to 1. Tom, you had mentioned that earlier, because we did hear a little bit of that buzz that Doug Peterson wants an offensive player. And look, knowing Doug Peterson, what did he inherit in Philadelphia? He inherited a great offensive line, which was they were instantly competitive when Peterson took over. Like they went 7-9 in his first year, but they won games. Like, they were competitive. Then of course they won the Super Bowl in his second year, and they had that great offensive line. There's no way Doug Peterson is looking at Cam Robinson and saying, yeah, let's go to battle, baby. Like, I don't know. And I feel like maybe they, like, the thing is like, oh, trade out and take one of the tackles. Who's trading up to 1 in this draft?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, you were touching on that earlier, Joe, that the depth is good, but there's not the top end talent. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about, the Panthers trying to trade out at 6. Giants seem like a team that might trade out at 7, but nobody really, who are you trading up to draft in those spots? It's not a great year to have one of these top picks. And I think, maybe going with a little chaos, taking some long shots on these, top 5 type of picks here is kind of the way to go. Because, I mean, even last year, it was pretty settled, pretty close to the draft, what the top 3 were going to be. This year it's going to be probably chaos down to the end here. It's kind of almost like, I'm trying to think the last time it was this chaotic, maybe back to Baker Mayfield, whenever that was. That came out pretty late that he was number 1.
That was pretty wild, but like that, to me, that was more interesting just because of all the quarterbacks who were in there.
Yep.
I'm thinking like 2013.
I think Scott might have mentioned this today too, but like 2016 is a kind of a good comp too, because it was a kind of a shit quarterback class. That was the Goff class.
Yeah.
You had like 2 really good edges. You got first Bosa, and then DeForest Buckner was in that class too.
Yeah, well, the thing though about that was we knew, because LA and Philly had traded up, we knew they were drafting Goff and Wentz. And and so like that one, but I'm thinking like in terms of 2013, which was I don't think we knew who the number 1 pick that year was going to be until like the day of the draft. That was the year Kansas City took Eric Fisher 1st overall.
Yeah.
That is pretty true. Who were even the quarterbacks in that class?
The first quarterback taken was EJ Manuel.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That kind of feels like this year's
class,
draft.
I think, are better than that. Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. Like, the closer we get here, it kind of feels like these quarterbacks could drop. It feels like teams don't necessarily feel the pressure to take these quarterbacks in the spots. And it feels like the Panthers would certainly love to trade back a little bit, get a little bit more capital. They don't have any picks in the 2nd or 3rd round here, but maybe it happens. But yeah, it does feel like these quarterbacks are going to slip here a little bit.
The Panthers are such a wild card in the sense
do whatever. Yeah.
Matt Rule and this stat, they're trying to save their jobs. And I don't see how Kenny Pickett, I'd be shocked if they took Malik Willis. I don't see how Kenny Pickett helps their chances right now to save their jobs. Like, I think they're a huge wild card, but I think they go offensive line, because that offensive line is
it's abominable.
Atrocious for years.
We have a comment from Rex Timotheus, and he says the tackles look great, but at number 1, I kind of like, the thing is like somebody needs to go first.
Yeah.
And like, this isn't a class where like
I still think
for instance, if Trevor Lawrence was in this class, he's the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah. I still think it's Hutchinson. I think Balky, for better or worse.
Yeah.
I agree. I think they actually should go offensive line and just really try to, get some talent around Lawrence. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, they go defense. I've kind of just stayed away from the top 3 of this draft, really, just in general. I mentioned it with Willis. I've got a little bit of that on him with the Lions, which looks dead now. But I think the only way I'm playing this top 3 right now is to just sprinkle some Neal and Ekwonu for the Texans at 3, because I still think that's the way to.
And then they're going to shit on you and draft Charles Cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cross is he's kind of the wild card here. Because it seems like the Giants really like him.
I just got Cosell's evaluation.
Okay, nice.
And he thinks he's a day 1 starter at either left or right tackle. So I think a team's going to – it's just you're going to be nitpicking between these guys because Ekwonu is a nasty guy, but he has work to do in pass pro.
Yeah, so that's Neal too. I mean, they're both have kind of the same MO that, hey, they're ready to, as run blockers. Maybe they have to transition inside, but Cross seems like the best, pure pass protector in the group, playing in that – in Mike Leach's offense and getting a lot of reps in that, that
Rex says, so you really think a tackle will go over edge? No, I don't. And I don't think you guys do either. But the point is,
it's open.
We think they could, we think they should, and they're 16-1 bets. So it's a long shot. But, would you be if you come out on day 1, they're like, we take Evan Neal, number 1 overall, you're going to be able to easily rationalize that pick. Yeah. It's not like it's going to come out of left field like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that.
I mean, at the end of the day, Balky is a guy, when he drafted for the 49ers, he loved these lengthy super athletes. He drafted Alden Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's going to see Trayvon Walker.
I think that's why he's been on the rise here.
By the way, this is why I compared this class to 2013. Now, I'm hoping in terms of depth, it ends up being a better draft because 2013 is one of the worst drafts in recent memory. Eric Fisher, Luke Jokel, Deion Jordan, top 3.
Ugh.
Lane Johnson, number 4, probably was the best player in that draft in hindsight. DeAndre Hopkins went a little bit later too. Ziggy Ansah and Barkevious Mingo were the top 6 picks. How similar does that sound to this year? You had 3 offensive tackles and 3 edge rushers go in the top 6. Remove the quality of most of those players who were drafted then.
Yeah, and time is a flat circle. You got a Jags GM screwing up a top 5 pick.
Luke Jokel, that was the all-time great tweet from the late John Clayton when Luke Jokel got hurt. And poor Luke Jokel, I mean, he got a serious injury, but John Clayton tweeted, the cart is coming out of Luke Jokel. Instead of for Luke Jokel.
That sounds painful.
I remember I was doing the game day show and I was crying on air.
That sounds absolutely
but yeah, so Luke Jokel, that's my favorite memory of Luke Jokel. Probably the Jaguars fans' favorite memory of Luke Jokel too.
There's not a whole lot of memories there.
Yeah, not that he got hurt, but that John Clayton had one of the best tweets ever. Also D. Milliner was a top 10 pick. Oh my God. Yeah. All right, this draft isn't that bad.
No,
this draft isn't that bad because there were 2 offensive guards who went in the top 10 of that draft.
The top 3 tackles between Ekwonu, Neal, and Cross are sick. I think the edge rushers are sick. I mean, Thibodeau fell because I don't know. I heard a bunch of people, plugged in guys like Dane Brugler and Jeremiah say he was falling because their teams are questioning whether or not he's super invested in football. It's not like he's a bad character guy. It's
no.
It's like he's he's got all these little side things he's doing and side hustles and stuff, which he should be making money off his name. But yeah, I think that was kind of the question for him. But that's been the real interesting thing to see this past week is the Thibodeau market really just skyrocketed too.
That's very interesting because honestly, to me, he's the kind of player who I think the more you watch him, the more you don't want him.
Greg didn't. Right? Greg, the Jadeveon Clowney kind
he
of
comparisons him to Clowney, but lighter.
Yeah, wasn't impressed with his ability, to bend the edge, and he thought he was more of a run defender than he was a pass rusher.
Look,
ironically, that's exactly what Clowney's turned into.
Yeah, and Clowney is the guy's about to play his 10th year in the NFL, okay? Or his 9th year in the NFL. He's a 3-time Pro Bowl. We're not trying to shit on Clowney, but he has 41 sacks in his career. All right. If you drafted Jadeveon Clowney number 1 overall, you want him to have 41 sacks by the end of his 3rd season.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Brett Whitefield tweeted this out yesterday about the Lions, and he's a huge Lions fan. And he said for sure, if the Jags don't take Aiden Hutchinson, it won't matter. They're still going to take Thibodeau at 2. And I responded back to him like, even if Trayvon Walker goes 1, he's like, yeah, they love Thibodeau. So I think there's some actual fire.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's a really interesting one.
His draft position prop, it's moved down to 4.5 at FanDuel. It's minus 158 towards the under. So, it was kind of sitting 5.5. Most of the last month here, and it's moved down, and all the money's towards the under here.
Now, keep in mind there are multiple draft. If you guys have never bet on the draft before, I would think you have if you're watching this, but maybe you're just tuning in and saying, I just moved to a state where there's sports betting. There are multiple things. There's draft position, which is irrespective of team. So if a team trades up for a guy, and you had, say, Aiden Hutchinson number 1 overall, it doesn't matter which team drafts them if you have them bet at number 1. But they're also team specific, and I think we're going to get more into that next week.
Yeah, and on that note, Joe, if you're looking through these markets, like here in Colorado, we have like 1 million sports books. Yeah. Shop your lines, man, because I've seen some crazy juice difference on some of those over-unders. Like, yeah. I mean, there's some really sharp books out there that are constantly moving lines, and then others that are like 3, 4, 5 days behind news. So make sure you're shopping lines for sure.
Yeah, this is one more. You bet. Props can be a little bit off during the season, but game lines, totals. Every place is kind of the same. These draft props, they're wildly different between books. So make sure you look around, and there's some books that are a couple days behind for sure. FanDuel is going to be one of the sharper ones, DraftKings as well. Those books are kind of up to date on the information, but there's others that lag behind there.
Yeah, so we have Trayvon Walker now, who's starting to get some number 1 hype, but now he might not even go number 2. How about that? This is interesting. And that now I'm starting to build a conspiracy theory here, Graham, based on what you said. Brett Whitefield said that they love Thibodeau at number 2.
Yeah,
Aiden Hutchinson's plus 1,900 to be the 3rd overall pick. I'm like, I still think he's going number 1. But what if the Trayvon Walker smoke is real?
Yeah,
and like you said, Balky loves these guys he can dream on, right?
Yeah, it's interesting too, man, because Thibodeau obviously went to Oregon. They just drafted Penny Sewell. So if you want somebody that, can give you the inside slant to, what kind of guy Thibodeau is, they got Sewell right there in the building. So I don't know, man. It's real interesting. I'm kind of staying away, like I said, because I genuinely don't know. But man, it's the top threes. Yeah, I think plus 1,600, Joe, is real interesting for Hutchinson.
And that's 1,900 actually.
Okay.
And you know what? If you look through, I don't think FanDuel necessarily has these, but some books have like the exacta, the trifecta, like the first. If you want to, so if you're building out a scenario like that, Joe, you pick Hutchinson to go 19-1 to the 3rd overall pick. Maybe you do the Walker at 1, Thibodeau 2, Hutchinson 3. Try to do the trifecta there. Not just go for the 19.
And by the way,
if Hutchinson falls at 3, it's probably going to be because Walker goes 1, and then if the Lions love Thibodeau.
And I'm just saying, we're talking out of our asses here. I mean, Hutchinson is still the not overwhelming favorite to be the number 1 pick, but
not overwhelming anymore. Yeah,
not anymore. He was not anymore.
Yeah, so it's minus 185, plus 165. Yeah, Tom, and now that also, Brett says they love Thibodeau. Okay, if they take Thibodeau. Number 2, then there's no way Houston's passing on Hutchinson at number 3.
No. Yeah, that would be a coup for them.
Yeah. So that's
although the Texans are the one team where the Falcons are the biggest mystery I think in the top 10, but Houston is right up there. I mean, they have they're kind of in the same boat. They're both horrific rosters. I mean, the Texans and the Falcons, I could see going any
drafting any player you want.
Yeah,
I mean,
they don't necessarily have outside Davis Mills for the Texans. There's no spots that are really.
The funniest thing about the Texans, though, is on their admittedly horrendous roster, you can make the argument that tackle is actually the position they need.
I know.
Because, which is so funny about teams, because normally but like they have Tunsil and they have Titus Howard, which is certainly not the worst tackle duo in the NFL.
Yeah. I heard something that they're not going to extend Howard's 5th-year option. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, now you're looking at Tunsil, who is, I mean, he's going to be 28, so he's got a lot of football left ahead of him.
I was wondering, even if they maybe go tackle, would they shop Tunsil this summer? Like, I could see them doing something like that. Like
Howard's played guard, right, in the NFL?
Who?
Titus Howard?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Guard, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, you're right, Tom, because, I mean, Tunsil would still fetch you a pretty penny on the trade market.
Absolutely.
Because he's
and if you want to groom your, whoever you take at number 3 to be that left tackle, I could see them doing something. And that's a way to, this is a multi-year rebuild. This is a way to maybe get extra draft picks in years to come and, continue to build the arsenal there. So I wouldn't rule that completely out that they might shop Tunsil if they would go tackle at number 3.
Yeah, and then we get to number 4 here now. So this is interesting, and this is how this goes because of how scenarios will play out. Thibodeau is the favorite to be both the 2nd and the 4th overall pick, which obviously can't happen, but he's the favorite at both of those spots. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, I still think at the end of the day, I like Sauce Gardner a lot for the Jets at 4. I think that's kind of the route they go. I think we see edge. I still think Texans take a lineman. I just don't know which one between Neal and Ekwonu. And then I think we see Sauce.
Yeah. And by the way, I think Ekwonu and Neal, I think Neal is probably the more kind of traditional left tackle.
Yeah.
No, but I think both of those guys can play guard right away.
Yeah.
Neal's a monster, 6'7".
Oh my God. Did you see him up at the podium?
He looks like he's like 40 years old too.
He also looks like he weighs about 230. That's how well.
Yeah, I know.
I mean that as a compliment.
He carries his weight well.
Yeah, he's just like I said that when I was talking to Cosell on the phone. I was like, Greg, the guy looked like a linebacker up there. Like, I mean, other the fact that look, maybe tight end is a more apt description because how tall he is. But I mean, like, there is no fluff on that guy. I'll tell you. Rexax, thoughts on Hamilton for the Jets? Now there is a guy. I mean, I've seen him projected 4th. There were times when he was being projected 2nd overall.
Yeah.
And now
he's fallen because
he might fall out of the top 10. Yeah.
Yeah, he's fallen because of poor combine and poor pro day. He ran poorly at both, but I bet under. I think it was under 6.5 or 7.5 for Kyle Hamilton. I think that was my worst bet I've had so far.
Yeah. So
I think he falls to 10 or 11.
Under means they go higher in the draft, essentially.
Yeah. I bet him under 6.5, and I think that's going to be an L. But I mean, if you look at any big boards now, I mean, he's still a top 10 player in this draft.
He's 10.5 right now. He's like
his draft position prop is really falling here. I grabbed it over 9.5. I added some team selections today. He was plus 650 to go to the Commanders. I have to watch my tongue. The Durs. So I think that might be kind of his, that's the farthest he's. I mean, I guess he could slip even farther than that, but it seems like maybe 10 or 11 is kind of the spot there for the Jets, or maybe the Commanders there. But he does. He didn't have the best combine, and he doesn't play one of the these tackle or cornerback. He doesn't play these premium positions. So I think that's also working against him.
Yeah, Tom, that's the question. I think is these teams have is he a linebacker or is he a safety? I mean,
I saw him.
You got to
play. Mm-hmm. I mean, I forget who it was against, Tom. But I'm sure you remember the play where he basically came across the entire field.
Florida State. It was Florida State.
And I was like, how many, I don't give a, to me, and I'm sure this is what scouts are going to argue in the room. I don't give a shit if he ran a 4.9. Look at that play. That was
if you know where the play is going to go, that buys you a little extra time if you're running a 4.6, I guess.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter what I think of these players. So, he's kind of plummeting here. Tom, one of the ones that you've really been passing around in kind of our group chat, and when I read Cosell's valuation, I talked to him about receivers. He brought up the word game changer about one wide receiver, and that's Jameson Williams from Alabama.
Yeah,
And all these guys are flawed. There's no Chase. There's no Devontae Smith. There's no Jalen Waddle, who, and I mean, not that you couldn't prefer one of those guys, and not that they didn't have their weaknesses, but there's no real, in my opinion, like a top 10 wide receiver in this class. But we did bet on Jameson Williams to go top 10.
Yeah, I got it when it was 15-1 early April. It's been bet down. It's like 2-1, 3-1 now at most places. He has that one trait, among these receivers. He's, just explosive down the field, get the ball in his hands after the catch. There's nobody that really matches him in that territory. And, we've seen it the last couple of years with, Jalen Waddle and Henry Ruggs and, these guys that are, that's their trait. They're game changers like that. Those guys always get pushed up in drafts. Teams are looking for that. And, my thought was the Jets were looking for that kind of player. Elijah Moore has some of that, but, you put those two at the Z and the at the slot spot. You got, Corey Davis outside playing the X. I mean, that's all of a sudden a pretty dangerous, trio receivers, for Zach Wilson to, take his game to another level here.
What about again, as Graham brought him up, the Falcons? Like, what could they just say? He's like, all right, who is the guy here who's going to actually make a real impact? They don't have a wide receiver worth a shit on that roster. I mean, it's honestly, I know I say this sometimes. And maybe I'm forgetting some of the past. How in the blue hell could you tell me you've ever seen a worse wide receiver room than this? No.
This is it. This has to be it.
Auden Tate signed there because
number 2
he could start. Auden Tate.
He probably will start. He probably will start week 1 outside.
Olamide Smith. That is a very
insider joke.
Olamide Zaccheaus.
Zaccheaus, number 1 receiver.
Their best wide receiver is their starting running back.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, the Falcons have to. I mean, Fontenot's got to be working every angle he can to trade out of that pick just so they get some extra juice. But I mean, they're in the perfect spot to draft a receiver. I mean, Garrett Wilson's been the pick for them, but it would not surprise me to see Jameson Williams.
Yeah, and like Garrett Wilson, I think when you talk about the Falcons, they might be a team that's sitting there saying, okay, Jameson Williams might be the explosive game changer, but we just need somebody who can catch fucking football.
Yeah, and that's
good.
And
he can play anywhere. He has a little bit of Calvin Ridley in him, that can line up inside, outside, a little slider.
Hey, Calvin might be watching this right now.
Yeah, it might be. He's looking for some inside information for his 18 parlays.
Oh my! You can do it now. I would assume. Can suspended players bet on?
Oh God, no! Oh God, no! If they catch him betting again, he's banned for life. I guarantee.
I hope he found a bookie. I mean, do it smart.
I mean, look at one of your buddies. God.
Yeah.
By the way,
exactly. Give your buddy, $10,000 and you bet for me.
Bill Simmons has a NBA awards vote and also bets on them. How the
fuck I saw your tweet on that. That shouldn't be. You should not
be banned. Yeah. Like, I mean, by the way, as somebody who's actively doing a betting show, I believe Calvin Ridley should have been suspended. Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I think Pete Rose should be banned from baseball. Like, I mean, like. These are things that, anyway, that's an entire other discussion. Looking at, I just want to do some of the position markets now.
Sure.
First quarterback selected. Malik Willis is -140. Kenny Pickett +150. So what would that be? Like a 3.5 point favorite in an NFL game?
-140? Yeah, it's probably a little less than that. Probably more like 2.5.
Yeah. So again, not necessarily a toss-up, but not too much. And
Ritter's been getting some juice. He was, 30-1 at one point here. He's definitely moved up here in the 10. Just because, as we were saying a little bit earlier, there, it feels like these quarterbacks might be sliding down the board a little bit. So that brings Ritter into play a little bit.
I was going to say I want to bet over 2.5 quarterbacks in the first round, but I don't see that at FanDuel's 3.5 now because I think a lot of people anticipate that Ritter's going to be a first round pick. Ritter, to me, watching him, talking to people about him, it just seems like that's going to be and we're already hearing some buzz, but it just seems like that's somebody who like you're going to see like Chris Mortensen on ESPN and oh yeah, the Seahawks, like just to bring a team up, got enamored with him and they knew this was going to be the guy they were going to draft. It's like seems like he's somebody a team is going to fall in love with because first and foremost he's athletic. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say he checks a lot of the boxes.
He does.
Yeah,
and
big. Yep.
This matters to teams. Don't get me wrong. This matters to teams. He was a winner in college.
Yeah, I mean, he started 49 games for them too. I mean, he started every game for last
year. And it was an NFL type of offense too.
Yeah,
that
like,
helps. It wasn't a gimmicky one. Like, the one
he's going to be a first round pick. Like, I think that's locked.
I mean, I'm by no means a quarterback scout. I'm awful at it, but I mean, just when I watched Jerome Ford and charted all of his games, I mean, the big thing I saw with Ritter is consistency. Like one play, he looks like the top overall draft pick. And then for 3 plays, he plays like he's a third rounder and might not even be a starter.
I would not be shocked at all if in 2 years he's like far and away the best quarterback from this class.
Neither would I. On the quarterbacks, Joe, what's real interesting is Malik Willis's over-under is now 10.5, juiced way towards the over at -158. So, yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of these quarterbacks in these markets slide. I honestly don't have a really strong take on the quarterback market. I was scrolling through it before our show here, and on Ritter, there's a market, I think it was on PointsBet for the second quarterback off the board, and Ritter was plus 650. I think that's a real interesting bet for the quarterbacks, but I'm staying away from the first one.
How about this? And I don't know if it's out there. Ritter over Pickett.
I think that's very plausible.
Yeah, I think the books got beat up a little bit last year on some of these more exotic type of We're just starting to see the team selection stuff, but we should start to see some matchup props. I would think in the next couple days, maybe over the weekend. But those are always kind of interesting. But that would be one because it feels I gave out the Pickett as his first quarterback. The number was right. It was like plus 175, and then it got him to the Panthers. I think it was plus 250, maybe plus 225. But now that it feels like I was banking on the Panthers being the team that selected Pickett, but now that it kind of feels like they're trying to trade back, maybe maybe they do trade back into the teens, and maybe that allows one of these other quarterbacks to jump ahead of them now. Because
I don't know, man. I just don't. If you're the Panthers, like trying to predict what Rule and Tepper and these guys are going to do has been impossible. But if you're trying to save your job, like I don't see how Pickett saves your job. Get an offensive lineman.
Fitterer, see, to me, this is the interesting thing about them, though, is I think Fitterer probably has a longer leash than Rule.
Yeah.
Because Fitterer didn't come in with Rule, it came in the year after.
Yeah.
So do you have that dynamic where Rule's like, I want Kenny Pickett or I want Desmond Ritter, and Fitterer's like, no, sorry, we'll get our quarterback next year.
I mean, they could still trade for Baker. I know they said that there was mutual whatever that they both didn't want each other, but like
Robbie Anderson, no.
That Robbie Anderson who did jack shit last year.
Yeah,
he did play with Sam Darnold last year.
Yeah,
I mean, we're saying all this. They have an urgent need at quarterback. I mean, I'd much rather go into the season with Pickett over Darnold again.
As it stands right now, who is the worst starting quarterback in the NFL? As it stands right now, Drew Lock.
Drew Lock.
I don't know, man. I think.
Or is it Darnold?
Yeah.
Lock has to be it, man. He is miserable.
Yeah. I mean, the three who came to mind.
And they're fascinating because all of a sudden, they're giving Geno Smith guaranteed money, a big con. It's like, I guess they're not in the quarterback market. They're really going to go with Drew Lock and
Geno. They're going to be miserable. But yeah,
Pete Carroll's already beaten off to thinking about running 47 times for Rashad Penny.
How about this? I was looking at the draft board because I was on the podcast with Ross Tucker, the Fantasy Feast podcast, and he's like, "Hey Joe, where do you think Breece Hall's gonna go?" And I said, "Oh my God, I would just for the reaction on Seahawks Twitter, I would love if he went 40 or 41 to the Seahawks. First and foremost, because it'd be great for fantasy because they give him the ball 390 times. But speaking of running backs, this is the prop every year. Over 1/2 running back in the first round, plus 200 on FanDuel. Just got off a call with somebody who would know. the Buffalo Bills doesn't mean they'll draft him in the first round. The Buffalo Bills are in the market for a massive upgrade at running back. They want a 3-down back. They made overtures to the Carolina Panthers for Christian McCaffrey, who said no. But if a team drafts a running back in the first round, I'm telling you guys, number 25 Buffalo, that's the one to look at.
That's the one team. That's the one team.
But I can't see them doing it. They have other holes. I mean, they got to improve at cornerback. That's one of the props I just gave out, them selecting quarterback.
Hey, nice. First. I just took that today too, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was plus 250 or maybe it was plus 210. I can't remember the number.
Yeah, it's 250. Yeah.
They still have holes on offensive, defensive line, and I have to think their main competition in the AFC. They've been, they saw what the Chiefs did a couple years ago. They think they're one player away from, and look at the state the Chiefs are in. They're scrambling right now to fill a roster that's complete right now. They thought they were one player away. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was one player away. Yeah. I mean, I think the Bills organization is a little sharper than that, and we'll see. I mean, maybe I'd much rather them attack some of their bigger weaknesses.
Yeah, and
I mean, corner. I had you and I are sharing a brain on the Bills right now because the corner man, Trey White's coming off a pop.
Yeah, ACL.
Levi Wallace is now a Steeler.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, this is their 6th draft together. They've drafted 5 defensive players with their 6 first-round picks. Obviously, the lone exception was Josh Allen. I think they go corner or even safety. I was looking at them for safety too, because they got to make a call on Jordan Poyer here soon. So,
yeah, I mean, both of their safeties are getting. They're both in their early 30s at this point. I mean, they're going to hit a wall here. And there's going to be some decent, probably McDuffie, Stingley, Gardner are going to be off the board, but Booth is going to be right there. Kyler Gordon would be an interesting one. I think, he's kind of a zone specialist. It's kind of the name.
Elam's gotten some first round buzz. The guy from Florida.
Yeah, he's long. He's very long outside. And the AFC. I mean, you got to have quarterback play. I mean, look at all these quarterbacks that are coming into the AFC this year, and you got to defend.
I do guess you can make the argument that Buffalo has a few more needs than you might think.
Yes, that's the way I see it.
They could go D-line and pair somebody with that Oliver. They could take Devontae Wyatt if he falls to them. I mean,
you want to talk about, speaking of, just as a fan of a team who has 2 first-round picks, you want to talk about one that would make me throw up, it'd be if the Eagles drafted Devontae Wyatt.
I have seen him mocked a couple of times.
He does not feel like an Eagles kind of pick to me. Yeah. An older, non-productive defensive tackle.
By the way, going back to corners real quick, I'm with you, Tom. I think the same thing. These AFC teams, especially in the back half of the first round, desperately need corners. My favorite bet, if you're going to make one bet on the draft for day one, take over corners 4.5.
Okay.
Plus 120 at DraftKings. I took it at plus 115 in March.
Sauce Stingley and McDuffie are locks.
Yeah, and then I think we're going to see some of these guys like Booth has injury concerns.
His draft position has been falling a little bit.
Yeah, but I think we'll still get to 5.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna take Booth because I mean he is a medical guy, but
I was interested in this, by the way, just when you guys were talking offensive linemen, because if you are in that 20s range and you need an interior offensive lineman, this is a freaking great draft for you. There's a ton of Zion Johnson, Kenyon Green, Linderbaum. This is a great draft for needing those interior offensive linemen. I don't know how the odds aren't very good. I would be floored if the Cowboys didn't draft one of those interior offensive linemen.
Yeah. Floored. Joe, they actually here. Let me see if I can pull it up. FanDuel just put out some teams.
Yeah, I was going to say they're plus
125.
I was actually looking at I ended up giving out Titans offensive line and Bengals offensive line. Thinking the same thing.
You know the Bengals are taking Linderbaum if he gets there.
Oh, absolutely. That's a slam dunk. I think at this point, I know that they spent a lot of resources on the offensive line already this offseason, but I feel like they're just thinking let's just get as many capable bodies in here. We'll sort it all out in training camp. There's always injuries. We're not doing what we did last year. I mean, they lucked out to get to the Super Bowl with that offensive line. I think they'll address it again pretty early in the draft.
Yeah. Credit to them, though, man. I mean, they have obviously not drafted and developed well at all. But, I mean, credit to them for going out and just going ham, spending money. And I think really the only spot they need left is center. I don't think they're going to be thrilled with Jackson Carman at all. So, Linderbaum makes a ton of sense for them. At 31.
The problem for him is he's a center-only prospect, but I'm sure he could probably.
And he's undersized, dude. He's like 295.
But how about this one? And I think we'll end on this, Graham, because you got to go see the game.
I'm good if we want to keep going for a little longer.
Well, I also have to grill while there's still daylight out.
Gotcha.
Because
we'll do it. We'll bring it. We'll start it back up next Wednesday as well.
Yeah,
so we're
we'll
doing
do that.
Parts.
Here's one, and I think we might start to get a little bit more buzz on this, and we've started to get buzz already. Plus 500, the position of the Tennessee Titans' first drafted player, quarterback. Plus 500.
Yeah, I've seen a couple
shocked.
Yeah, I've seen a couple mocks with Ritter. I don't know. Tannehill had what he didn't play that well last year, but AJ Brown was hurt all year. Julio was a dud. I don't know.
I know what you're saying. I have a tough time seeing. I did the offensive line. I think that they are still looking at this roster like we got a limited window here. Derrick Henry. We already lost him for half the season last year. How many more good years do we have left with him?
Yeah.
Do we really want to be essentially wasting a first-round pick for this year? I mean, they've done that in the last couple of drafts. I mean, the quarterback last year was banged up, from Virginia Tech. I'm blanking on his name. He came in with the injury concerns.
And
then they drafted Wilson the year before, and that was a complete bot. Like, are they going to go 3 straight years?
I had this problem talking to my neighbor today where, like, he would be thinking of a player, and he'd be like, that his name slips my mind, and then I couldn't think of him either.
Caleb Farley, right?
You mean
Farley?
Farley, not Christian Farley. Yeah.
Farley.
I think they're the number 1 seed last year. They're playing that weak ass AFC South. Like I have a tough. I think maybe they do that in the second or third round, but I still think that they go a position of need in the first round here to continue to, try to bust through in the AFC here. I just don't pick it to them. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think you give Tannehill one more chance. And
I'm with you on that, Tom. I mean, they also can't really get out of Tannehill's contract until I think not this year.
Yeah, 23.
Next year. Yeah. Real quick, I know we said that was the last one, Tom. I want to get your opinion on this. So if the Steelers don't take quarterback, which they're plus 125 to do, I mean, plus 430 for offensive line. I was staring at that hard. I haven't bet it yet.
They are right in the sweet spot for those interior offensive
lines. I know, man. I know. Plus
what do you
430.
Think, Tom?
Like amazing.
I think they have a higher. I think they think higher of the offensive line, and they did this kind of last couple of years. I would probably be more inclined that they would look at a Wyatt or defensive tackle, or if they don't go quarterback, I think they kind of go defense.
They're two like big beefers.
Yes,
up front are Hayward and Alualu, who are both like 900.
Yeah, Alualu was banged up last year, missed all last year. Tuitt was the big one that it just killed the defense last year. It didn't even play. Feels like he might not play football ever again. So they have major. I mean, and their run defense last year was miserable.
They fell apart.
You know what, Tom?
They're taking a quarterback, guys.
You think so?
I'm like 100% certain. If Malik Willis falls to like 12 or 13, I bet they trade up and go get.
But I'm looking at this, Tom, and Devontae Wyatt feels like a Steelers pick. Just boring ass.
Totally. Yeah, I'm with you. Those odds are pretty juicy, Graham, at plus 450. But I just don't get the feeling that they feel like offensive line's pressing.
Yeah, the one thing that I keep coming back to. I mean, obviously this is Colbert's last draft. Like he can't leave them with Trubisky. Like, he's not going to leave him with Trubisky. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I think I gave out the Steelers. It was plus 170 at Unibet. It's plus the sharper books. It's plus 100, plus 110 right now. I think even Fox bet it's like a negative price on quarterback being their first pick. But I just have a tough time, especially since we think these quarterbacks are going to slip a little bit. I think they're good. I think quarterback is the pick all the way.
Yeah.
Guys.
All right. Well, now I'm going to look for the best juice on Steelers quarterback.
Well, you text that to me because I got some chicken to barbecue.
Yeah.
While we still got some daylight. Guys, it was a lot of fun talking. What we're going to do next week is Wednesdays. Essentially, I think we're probably going to try to pair up the latest buzz with the moving trends and whatnot and what's been right, what's been wrong. That's Tom. That's Graham. Rex Timotheus, who has been spamming the comments. I love it, man. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry you're a Colts fan because the Colts certainly have a lot of needs. They don't have a first-round pick, but they have a lot of needs. Good job by Ballard to at least recoup some value on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We'll talk to everybody next Wednesday, the night before the draft. And then me, Tom, and Graham will be talking Friday during day 2 of the draft. I think Scott and Wes and a couple of guests are going to be talking on Thursday. It's going to be great.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Let's get to the draft already.
Draft time, baby.
All right, boys. See ya.
Later.
See you guys.